It's called Dash. Here it is. And it's all in one take. It is a one-take film.
Birdman faked it. This is for real.
Yep. Looking for Belle?
Yeah.
Hi!
You looking for a carrot?
Hi. Really think it's a girl. So how's work? Any weirdos? How's your night?
Right.
Yeah, that's his girlfriend in real life.
I want a baby too. A little wobbly down there, huh?
That's my friend Audra who plays the prostitute.
Oh, I didn't know they're going in.
You like drugs? You all get drug tested? Something that might wake you up a bit. Want some blow? You want some blow? Never mind. Hi, you got this. Come on. What the fuck kind of drugs did you sell me?
See, now that
can
guy
do this.
is a little more your type.
Wait, no, stop, no!
Yeah, but he kind of reminds me of Penn
worse?
Badgley,
Are you laughing?
Oh,
Are you seriously
yeah.
fucking
the guy who's in that show You.
Yeah.
Holy fuck!
He is actually driving through the streets of LA
Looking for this, I assume?
with real traffic lights, picking people up, dropping them off. This was choreography.
They timed the street lights, people. Which I didn't even think you could do, really. I thought they changed at a moment's notice, except for reasons I will never understand, but...
Yeah.
It is,
Really good.
I was blown the fuck away. Ladies and gentlemen, Sean Lee Perry. He is the creator, the star, the producer of the one-take feature called Dash, about an adulterous rideshare driver masking the streets of Hollywood. He was the writer, director, starring Alexander Molina, and the film follows Millie, a rideshare driver who leads a double life. Over the course of one night shift behind the wheel, he attempts to sell drugs to his unassuming passengers. Things go pear-shaped from there, mate. Sean, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm trying to keep up. You guys are funny and really talkative and great. You guys are a blast.
I'll believe the talkative part. The rest just sounds like false praise, but we'll take it. Listen, buddy. Fucking edge of my seat last night. Our producer, I just told him, actually, I hope you don't mind, I gave him the screener as well. And I
We had
said,
a deal, man. You can't do that, but whatever. It's cool.
I didn't sign anything. I did not sign anything, although it may blow up, your laptop, Steve. But he was with his new wife as of this weekend, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe this isn't a good thing for a new married couple to see. But then again, it shows Steve what happens if he fucks around.
You just shouldn't sell heroin behind her back. That's all.
That's it. That's the only thing. The prostitutes, the infidelity. That's fine.
Oh, man. It was unbelievable. And truly, when it's very difficult to say such a thing these days, never seen anything like it. It's certainly never been done.
So, Sean, tell us a little bit about like your background and then your inspiration for making this film.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Western Pennsylvania, so I mean, I had no film resources around me. So I kind of just had to teach myself everything because there was no other option. Wow. So I moved to New York for a while, lived around there, but like people were really making movies. And then during COVID, we decided to move out to Los Angeles, and I did not want to wait around again. I said, once we land there, we're going to shoot a film. I don't care how cheaply. I have a clever idea. Nobody's quite done. If we can pull it off, it might turn some heads. And it luckily did.
Another guest that has done something positive with the whole pandemic experience.
Yeah.
Well, I just sat there and farted into a
nothing.
couch. Yeah. God damn it.
A whole lot of nothing.
You made the right decision. That was a much better decision.
I watched the sort of the making of thing afterwards.
Cool.
What blew my mind, I assumed, for obvious reasons, one take, the star is actually driving, that as a result, a lot of improv had to have been done if a light is missed, if a line is flubbed. It looks like from what you guys were saying, there was not a whole lot of improv in this.
No, I think in the take we used, there's only maybe a moment or two. I mean, for the most part, it was there. I mean, they were just so well rehearsed, and the night went well that nothing really happened.
Well, and I will say, given the time during the pandemic that you're shooting this. We know LA isn't the best for driving. So do you think the fact that there were fewer people out on the road, do you think that helped you?
Yeah, and that's why we were kind of in a rush to shoot. I mean, we wanted to get it done immediately because we knew the bars were going to open up again very soon, close to our shoot day. And luckily for us, they opened up the very first day that we started shooting. So it kind of, we were so scared because it would have changed everything. And it kind of changed it a little bit, but I mean, luckily there weren't that many people going to the bars at the time, but it really did change the entire, timing of everything.
Yeah.
And the timing, and first of all, this is what a moron I am. I assume lights change via the time of day, whether or not it's rush hour. I didn't know you could actually time when the lights are going to go your way. But indeed you can, and you guys worked within that time frame, correct?
Yeah, and that's props to Alex, our star, because, I mean, he was so adamant about rehearsing that drive day after day, time after time, 5-6 times a night. So, like, he just had that whole route memorized so well that he knew that if he was 5 seconds behind, that light was going to go. And if that light went, he would miss the next. So he just had everything so planned out.
Yeah.
I think he only ran 1 or 2 lights because he knew that if he didn't catch that light, everything would be thrown off.
Well, and also just, I mean, and I was saying earlier in the show, it really is like choreography to map all of that out. Like you said, he was rehearsing it because not only is he driving, he's texting, granted, fake texting, or, you in post put all the texts up on the screen.
Such a great element of the movie.
But, the fact that he's using his phone, he's reaching for things in his car, like he is doing so many other things besides driving, stopping, picking up people, saying his lines. So to kind of already have in your muscle memory a little bit this drive has to only be helpful.
Even like talking about this now, because I haven't talked about it in a couple months, like my heart's racing. My heart rate's increasing just talking about it. It is. But no, I said once again, props to him because not only did he have to do all of that, but he had an earpiece in as well.
Oh.
Because I'm in a lead car, watching his every movement from a monitor. I'm also barking commands into his ear, saying do this, do that, with our stage manager. So like it was. Props to him. It was a lot, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and we won't get into spoilers until the end of the half hour, and we'll tell people when, maybe to... Because I want everyone to watch it, but also, not much of a spoiler to say, not only are you looking at that monitor, you're in costume and ready to jump into the car as well.
Yeah, you decided to put yourself in it. That's great.
And that was desperation because when we moved here, we didn't know anybody. And this is like a huge scene. There's a giant monologue. I'm like, nobody, I don't know anybody that could do this or would want to do this. I'm like, I guess I'll do it. But it was desperation. That's all it was. It wasn't like, I'm going to be in this movie. I want to do this. I didn't want to be, but I didn't really know anybody. And
it was,
as you'll see, yeah.
I loved your take on this character, too, because it was, in one way, I think he said a lot of really interesting stuff, particularly when it came to the time that you guys were making it with the Black Lives Matter and all that stuff. But yet, he's like, you're not looking from our end. I mean, it's like it is a sympathetic look at cops also still portraying them as human as well. But explain how that kind of worked.
And I think, I don't know, to me, I think, because I grew up in essentially a very specific region of this country that thinks a certain way. And then I was living in New York, which also thinks a different way, but living in Los Angeles, which thinks a very different way. So I think just approaching, a scene or a conversation, like willing to hear both sides and willing to justify why somebody would do something or why they think the way they do, rather than just hammering home that you're wrong. Fuck you for being wrong. I like having conversations as opposed to just shoving something down somebody's throat.
I could not agree more. It was refreshing and done really well considering the amount of time that you had to do it. And this is like, I'm probably overthinking, but I wrote, when he first broaches the conversation about, hey, need anything to stay up? Were you playing it like the cop knew what he was talking about and might have actually been interested, or didn't know, or the third option being was going to try to lead him into it so he could arrest him for selling drugs? Because it seemed to me the cop knew more than he was letting on, or perhaps I'm wrong.
Hey, it depends. Whatever makes me look smarter, that's the one I was going for.
And that option is what you were doing. But it was really, it was a great scene.
So you get in the car, you're now acting. how do you? Was it who then directed you, or like how does that work? You know, you can't see the shot. Did you rely heavily on rehearsals and looking back at footage, or how did that work?
I think mainly just rehearsal, and Alex taught me and kind of coached me through the acting process. But because when I get in that car, there's so many different things on my mind that I kind of forget that I'm even performing. Because I get in that car, I'm looking at that camera, like, wow, is it still on there? Is it still framed properly?
Yeah.
So I go, shit, I'm acting. And you'll see the take that we used. You might have seen the behind the scenes featurette that I have no sense of time. I ended up getting in the flow state of acting that the scene just drags on and on and on. And we ended up overshooting our landing spot. And you see Alex, you listen very closely. You can see him flipping his high beams on, telling our lead car, we're going to miss this. I'm going to do a U-turn. So you see him do a U-turn at the end of my scene. And it's because I went on longer than I should have. And Alex has kind of like saved the moment in a genius way.
You almost ruined your film. Nice.
Exactly. Because I just rambled and rambled and rambled. I know.
Well, I would actually, I'll ask you this as well as an actress. It was interesting. You did not think that you would be able to find enough or the kind of actors you wanted, and also tell them how much rehearsal this is going to require. Whereas Melina was like, no, we need to do this. Like, we need to tell them that they are going to be rehearsing like this is a play. And you found out that everyone was game for it. Like, what would you think if you heard that? And
Well, I would think that New York actors would be down for it, and LA actors probably wouldn't. However, Sean cast a lot of our friends who are New York-based people. So in that sense, too, I understand why they were on board.
interesting.
Yeah.
Is she right?
Entirely right. And because I love theater actors so much because they are so passionate and just love the craft and love doing it. We're out here as much. It's a stereotype, but it's more about the money and timing, and it's also COVID. So like, and they don't know me, or a lot of them didn't know me. So I guess I didn't think that they would want to, but they were down. I think because they were excited just to do something during COVID.
For sure.
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, and I'll tell you something on that theater note, where there's so much action and it lends itself so well, although it's a difficult process for a one-shot, just a banner of a movie. This could easily be, because, you know, that we've got all types of movies turn into schlocky musicals on Broadway, but this one could easily be translated onto stage, I feel like.
You think so?
Yeah.
A musical?
It'd be a fun
Not
thing.
a musical.
Oh.
No, ignore the musical part.
I was like,
But,
That'd be
you guys,
fun.
look, I don't want to be a theater buff here, but there are other staged things that are not music
no,
related.
that's true. A play. It could be a play.
Yeah, I feel like this could easily be a play.
We considered that too. Like, it would be fun to do that, but now I'm sold on doing a musical and writing a song about selling heroin. That sounds like a blast.
Actually, and by the way, smack is easy to rhyme with.
That's true.
Oh,
Yeah.
there you go. Yeah.
That could be the title. Smack is easy to rhyme with for one of your songs.
So you were telling me in the past a little bit about the actual cameras and what you had to do to affix it to the car. So tell us a little bit about that.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because I was also the DP, so I mean, there's a lot of trial and error, a lot of different tests, but at the end of the day, we did have a $60,000 setup on a car that I mounted that is not entirely insured, and I didn't list that when renting the camera. They'll retroactively sue me, but that was definitely an issue for the longest time. It was like, oh my God, if we get that far in that camera, could just bounce off at any time.
Yeah.
So and even the prior takes, there was always issues with whenever we hit a bump, so the camera would be shaking. And the first night we tried, the camera kept on bouncing around and falling off the mountain. Every time he parked, I would have to get out and slowly bring it back up, so not to ruin the take. Just trial and error, nonstop. There was always something because, it was essentially just a couple of kids running around with the camera. And at the same time, it was one take, and we shot this in this new camera that shoots 8K footage. And we found a card that could do 2 hours of, allegedly 2 hours of nonstop running, but nobody actually tested it, or that I saw. So we're I guess we'll see if it works, and hopefully it does. And I think the credit sequence is a time lapse, and that kind of brings our runtime to about a little over 2 hours. So if we did hit an extra stoplight, we might have not had enough card space to even record the whole thing.
I'm getting stressed just listening to that.
That's what I'm saying, man. I'm freaking out over here.
Well, that's the thing. this isn't I mean, it is obviously unique, but like this could easily be relegated to like a gimmick thing were it not for the fact that the actual you kind of forget that you're watching a one take movie because it is so intense and the product is so good that it's almost an afterthought when you realize afterwards, like, holy shit, look what they did. And I thought early on, a lot of the little things you did were genius because you did you tried and you succeeded with the whole Fatal Attraction thing, which is namely to make a scumbag somebody you root for. And you did it early on with when the three gay guys come in and he decides, even though he's got to unload what he thinks at the time is cocaine, I can't give it to this guy because he clearly has just come back from rehab or, as his other friends are commenting, has a problem. And he just can't do it. And right off the bat, and it
saves the cat right there.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you for picking up on that because that's a beautiful moment that nobody ever really mentions. That's one of my personal favorites. I love that moment.
I thought it was great.
So,
and you know that guy right away. Like he's going to make some questionable moves here. First of all, asking for a hand job. I mean, come on. If you're paying money,
Who does that? Yeah.
It's just that's the
The
option.
old-fashioned. Who does that? Yeah.
Which I didn't realize until we watched the trailer earlier on in the show that Joe, you were friends with her as well.
Audra.
Did you talk to her about her acting choices as far as the stroke is concerned?
You know, it's so funny when you talk to actors about projects they've done. Actors are very vulnerable people. They're very critical of their own work. And she was really doing this whole, I don't know if it's my best work, blah, blah, blah. And then I watch it and I text her and I'm like, Audra, you were an incredible prostitute. Like, I guess it's a compliment, as it should be. It was totally
we prefer
believable.
sex workers, by the way.
I was going to say, I think prostitutes.
Yes.
I apologize to our sex worker followers.
All sexually empowered people, we love you.
Yes.
But yeah, it was really great. And then with the continuing thread of the phone calls to her, it's just so funny because the stakes are so high for our driver and not really for her. And so it's a nice foil.
Yeah, oh boy, she could care less.
Oh, yes.
I remember during rehearsal, just even though it was a phone call, but laughing so hard whenever she's just cracking up during the worst moment of this guy's life. Just laughing like, you can't be that stupid. And also props to Audra for doing so. I mean, it's an 8-minute opening scene with no camera movement. Like, that's outrageous for anybody to pull off.
Yeah.
No
I think
kidding.
they did so well. I mean, because her and I even talked. I mean, later on, I'm like, we might have to just cut this opening scene and start with the credit sequence because it's an 8-minute opening scene, and like, who's gonna sit down and watch that? This is the first selling point of the movie, and she just did so well that we have to keep it.
Yeah. Speaking of having your friends that you're directing, but also your girlfriend,
Lovely Paige Grimard.
Paige plays
Great.
the main guy's wife. And I want to know what that's like. I mean, she's told me a little bit about when you help her with self-tape auditions. Sometimes it gets a little messy. It gets a little hostile. So what is it like directing her and just people you know in general? Do you have different styles for different people? How does that work?
I think this might be the only reason I even made the movie because it was the one time I was able to tell her to do anything.
Nice.
But no,
take notes, Steve.
And props, she's just such a great actress that it's really fun to actually finally work together and, build something together that, because we both just respect what each other do so much that it's fun to sit down and do that and create. I don't know, it just opens up a whole new world of how you kind of interact with one another.
Sure.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, she definitely, I think, comes at me a little bit more than she would any other director, but in a very good way, because she can ask me more questions than she could any other director.
And being that I did know a few people in the cast, there are what I like to call Easter eggs for me.
Oh, I like it already.
The fact that Paige's character is doing Whole30, that's very much a Paige thing.
I don't know. What's Whole30?
It's like a diet.
A miserable diet where you can't eat anything but paper, and then you just destroy your boyfriend or lover for, not
Yep.
doing it with you.
I
don't like it already. I don't like it already.
When she read that script, I think she just came out and she just glared at me.
Yeah.
Because the funniest moment to me of her character is when she has those eating noises and she's just chomping on like that Thai food.
Yep.
Because I always tease her, fucking eating noises. Calm yourself down. Like, but she had to do that in the movie, and I was just laughing so
Yeah.
hard.
Also, she brings up the couple's married friends, or the friends getting married, Audra and Paul, who in fact were our friends who had just gotten married.
That's awesome.
Audra is in the movie. She is playing the sexually empowered woman, and her husband Paul plays the tourist. So was she improvising that, or was that also in the script?
That was right in the script, right from the get-go, because I think Paul and Audra read the script, and they're like, do they actually hate us or something? Because the line is, wow, if you don't want to go to Paul and Audra's wedding, you don't have to. I know they kind of suck.
Yes!
That's fucking great.
Yeah. So I love those moments. I don't know that everyone else will get it, but I do think, right, as a writer and a director, you have to put little things in that make you laugh or that, are fun for you.
I'm really glad that you picked up on that, because for the longest time, like I said, being from Western PA, I was making movies catered to an audience in my small town in Kane who would think that these lines were so funny, but the rest of the world's like, that makes no sense. What are you talking about? I kind of learned to broaden my horizons a little bit, but still kind of sprinkle in.
You should have a DVD option of just Joanne-related Easter eggs.
Yes.
Just for the audience
love
of
that.
one.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, getting back to the eating noises, which actually, that was a little mukbang for you as well.
Yes, I do
a
love
little bit.
mukbang,
Yeah, she likes
so.
watching people eat. It's almost as if I believe every single character leaves their own stench in the car, whether it's gunpowder, what was she having? Chinese food, baby vomit, the literal snorting of what someone thought was cocaine ends up being heroin. How much of that was a thing, and what were you trying to sort of relay there? Because I thought that was brilliant, and also what possibly could have ended up being, this isn't that, hopefully not much of a spoiler, possibly a dead body and blood.
Yes.
But I mean, it was all about stenches and like all of that, and I thought that was really interesting.
Well, thank you. You guys are great. You really did your homework. This is a day. Thank you. But
It's the first time anyone's
I
ever
think
said
it's
it.
because we had such limited resources and no camera movement that we kind of had to play on every sense that we could. And if you listen closely, there's a lot of sound elements. But I thought it was really fun because we're right in this driver's space. If we could put them in the car by just relaying these senses that of smell, that it could really kind of heighten up everything, but also serve as a storytelling element. And I think it works. And there's a lot of, you don't want to spoil anything either, but it just adds a whole different element of what you can play with, considering we had nothing else to play with.
Yeah, and it also makes it a lot more real, too. We've all gotten in the back of an Uber or a Lyft, and
Oh my God,
it does
yeah.
not smell good.
Especially out in Los Angeles, man. New York, I think, was, I don't know, for some reason, just very straightforward and much more put together. Out here, there's always something. It's always something.
Oh, yeah.
Especially the trains out here, too.
And it's such like a great thing about saying like, and especially now more than ever with anybody doing like an Uber or any of those types of things, or just a plain old taxi, like you're in this really intimate environment.
Yeah.
Much more so than like a cramped 5-floor walk-up apartment building. There's no real wall, and you've got the smells and all this, and yet 9 times out of 10 you don't want to talk with that person.
Oh, sure.
You want to say as far it's this. They're kind of like these two iconoclastic things.
The scene with the girls
Oh my
texting in the
God,
back, to have a scene where there's essentially no dialogue for much of it. It's just text on the screen, but it's so real. The number of times I've been in a car texting with a friend in the same car because you don't want to talk or you don't want the driver to hear.
You've actually done that? You've actually texted the person next to you while in the car?
Yes.
Oh, she's a
that's
dirty
so
little
awesome.
millennial, like nobody's business.
Filthy millennial
Yes.
Gen Zer, I tell you.
Of
That's so
course.
funny. And props to those girls as well, because they actually were texting. They would text each other to rehearse every night, and like their texting was their actual texting.
Wow.
Granted, they changed some things, but like the timing was just props to them because they just
Yeah.
nail it. I can't imagine texting that fast.
And also texting stuff like "murder this vag."
Yeah.
There's a lot of aspects to it. You don't want to misspell it, otherwise no one will know what you're meaning.
I mean, the autocorrect alone.
You're truly. It's so funny.
One of my favorite, and also another great scene where you kind of know who you're dealing with because he's already doing some sketchy stuff, but he isn't going to sell it to them either because they're underage, or at least he thinks they are. And so, like, you're seeing, okay, this guy isn't completely that far gone. There is some sort of moral code there.
Which that makes that. I mean, that's to me makes a great character. It's
Yes.
every one of us are kind of a dirtbag in some sense, whether we like to admit it or not. But when the cameras are on and you can't hide anything, like, but at the end of the day, he still has these, wonderful, I guess, flaws where like he's selling drugs, but he won't sell to them as much as he needs the money. So I think it's just so much fun.
Well, we're almost getting to that. I think we'll wait a little longer, and then if you haven't watched it yet, we might ask a couple of how he did it, spoiler stuff, guys. And you have to watch it. This has been a wonderful viewing experience, and I've had very few lately, and your movie reminded me of it.
Wait, first I want to ask, because everyone can hear this. Obviously, you were very stressed about making this. There were a lot of moving parts. It really, it could have you could have crashed and burned, literally. But you didn't. So talk a little bit about the reception of this film, starting with the festivals and sort of how it's grown.
Yeah, and that's actually a really good question, too, because, I mean, you've all kind of been in that world where, like, whether making a film or a podcast and being done with it and being like, yes, we did it. But this was such an underwhelming kind of wrap where it was like, okay, I guess we did it. Let's try it again tomorrow. But then, like, okay, I guess it might have been a little bit better. It was underwhelming. But as far as like, finishing it and actually editing the movie, I was like, this is so boring. Nobody's going to ever want to watch this. This is before the text messages, before any music, any, like, this is so dumb. Why would I waste my time doing this? But then once everything kind of came together, I'm like, okay, this might be kind of cool. Maybe somebody at some obscure film festival will enjoy this. It's kind of artsy. But then people kind of like got traction immediately at the festivals we did submit to. And, we did have some luck playing the ones that we did. And they loved it. And I'm like, am I crazy? Until we had like our first screening at Chinese Theater for our world premiere. It was like, wow, people really dig this. This is kind of cool.
That makes so much sense, though. If you're sitting there immersed in it and staring at it, as long as you did, you're not going to see it obviously like an audience for the first time. It's so also like I'm way too old to ever be considered a millennial, but I have the attention span of one, and I was not doing nothing else while I'm watching that.
And that's the thing too.
I was locked in.
And yeah, thank you for saying that. It's like maybe some film lover might appreciate and respect it, but there's no way in hell some TikTok kid's gonna sit there and watch the whole thing. And I remember when our attorney came to our our world premiere at the Chinese Theater and brought her daughter, who's like in high school, and they were gonna stay for 20 minutes and then go. But her daughter was like, "No, I want to stay, Mom. This is really cool." I was like, "What? Like, what's going on?"
All you need to know.
Maybe because we were paying our attorney, I don't know, but like it was just I'm still blown away by the reception. I also love when people talk shit on it because I probably would too. I'd be like, I'm not gonna see this movie. This is such a gimmick. This is so stupid.
Yeah.
But it's really cool the positive reception that we have had.
It's unbelievable. And also I love finding out little anecdotes and then being able to use them to progress the plot. I love the Michael Keaton doesn't have a star and Michelle Pfeiffer does thing. That's ongoing. Fucking great.
Which I found out is not true. Who would have thought that everything on the internet isn't true? It blows my mind.
Well, and then
I did that intentionally. Because my character's a cop and he's kind of oblivious to the world.
Yes, nice.
Well, and then the other one too is, I love some gays. Hey, I have a lot of gay friends. I did not know that they are roofing each other these days. Small enough to just get the buzz, the GHB thing. I had no idea. I
got a nice breeze because I had the best gay community around me in New York, and we used to have so much fun, and they kind of took me into one of their own and would just tell me these stories openly. And because a lot of that stuff's true. From that, it came from a friend telling me a story. I'm like, are you kidding me? But it's such, because I of course sent this to a lot of that community before we shot. I'm like, what do you think? And they're spot on, man. God damn, that's spot on.
I did my own research. Our mutual friend of the show, Joshua McCarroll. I texted him. I'm like, wait, is this GHB really a big thing in the community? He's like, Bill, where have you been? Literally texted me, Bill, where have you been? Back. So it checks out. It checks out. Yeah.
Now, if people want to watch Dash, where can they find it?
Ideally, they'd purchase it on Amazon or any of those big platforms, but it's also streaming for free as of now. Tubi just picked it up.
Wow,
so
nice.
You can stream it for free on Tubi, which is really exciting. Yeah.
Absolutely watch it.
It's so crazy.
It's